The Europa League night once again left a bitter taste for Rangers supporters, not simply because of the defeat itself, but because it felt like the final confirmation of a campaign that never truly caught fire. Losing away to Porto is not in isolation a disgraceful result, yet when placed into the wider context of the season, it underlines how fragmented and unfortunate this European journey has been from the very beginning. Rangers never looked settled, never looked fully aligned, and that sense of something being slightly off followed the team from match day to match day. It is important to stress that the responsibility does not fall on the current structure alone, because many believe the damage was already done earlier, when decisive action could have been taken sooner and was not. Had that call been made earlier, there is a strong argument that the campaign might have been steady, perhaps even salvaged, but football rarely allows for rewinds, and Rangers now have to live with the consequences of those missed moments. What also cannot be ignored is the noise coming from across the city, with certain voices attempting to portray themselves as torchbearers for Scottish football in Europe. That narrative does not hold up under scrutiny. Rangers supporters are well aware that embarrassment on the continental stage is not something exclusive to one badge, and pointing fingers does nothing to change the reality of what has happened this season. Last year serves as a clear reminder that this club is capable of competing at a high European level, finishing among the top sides in an exceptionally demanding group. That achievement did not come by accident, and it should not be erased from memory simply because the current campaign has fallen short of expectations. Football moves quickly, but history still matters, especially when assessing where a club truly stands. As for Porto, it is only fair to give credit where it is due. They are not just another opponent, they are a side in outstanding form, sitting at the summit of their domestic league and performing with consistency and authority. Even with fierce competition behind them, they continue to set the pace, which tells its own story about their quality. Facing a team operating at that level in that environment is never straightforward. Rangers were always going to be tested physically, tactically, and mentally, and while the result hurts, it does not necessarily define the gulf between the clubs as some might suggest. It does, however, highlight areas where Rangers must improve if they want to re-establish themselves as a serious European force. One of those areas is painfully obvious and has been for some time. Rangers need a striker, and they need one urgently. The lack of a consistent goal threat has been a recurring theme, not just in Europe, but domestically as well. Chances are being created, moments are appearing, but there is a sense of inevitability missing in the final third. That is why attention has shifted so heavily toward the transfer market, particularly with the winter window entering its decisive phase. Recruitment is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity, and the club hierarchy knows that failing to address this issue could have lasting consequences for the remainder of the season. The primary focus at the moment is the ongoing pursuit of Ryan Nata, a situation that has become increasingly frustrating for all involved. Rangers have returned with an improved offer, putting forward a package worth €3.6 million guaranteed, including achievable bonuses and a sell-on clause. On paper, it is a serious proposal, one that signals clear intent from the Ibrox side. Yet despite this, the selling club continues to knock back each approach, refusing to provide the clarity that both Rangers and the player are desperately seeking. Nata himself is understood to be open to the move, even willing to remain where he is, until the summer before making the switch to Glasgow. For a player of his age, with ambition and potential, this represents a huge opportunity to step onto a bigger stage and compete for honours. The frustration stems not from the idea of negotiating hard, which is part of football, but from the lack of transparency. When clubs refuse to set a clear valuation, it places everyone in limbo. Rangers cannot plan properly, and the player is left waiting, uncertain about his future. Holding a player in this way rarely benefits anyone in the long run. Rangers supporters can understand a club wanting fair value for their asset, but there has to be a point where realism enters the conversation. Nata is not unsellable, and pretending otherwise only drags the process out unnecessarily. At this level, professionalism should mean giving clear answers, even if those answers are uncomfortable. Because of that uncertainty, Rangers are already preparing contingency plans, and attention has naturally turned toward Joel Piro as an alternative. Time is ticking, and the final hours of the transfer window are fast approaching, which only adds intensity to the situation. Piro's name has been linked with Rangers throughout January, and the speculation has not died down. He remains a prominent figure in discussions behind the scenes, particularly given the unique relationship between the clubs involved. That shared ownership dynamic complicates matters, but it also opens doors that would normally remain closed in standard negotiations. Piro's situation at his current club is an intriguing one. Despite limited starts, he has featured in the Premier League this season, accumulating valuable experience, even if the minutes have not been as plentiful as he might like. Only a small number of those appearances have come from the starting lineup, and his total time on the pitch paints a clear picture of a player on the fringes. That lack of consistent game time naturally fuels speculation about a move, especially when a club like Rangers comes calling, offering the chance to play regularly, compete for trophies, and perform in front of a demanding but passionate support. However, the player's own stance adds complexity. He is not actively pushing for an exit and believes firmly in his ability to fight for a starting role where he is. That confidence is not uncommon among players at the top level, particularly those who understand how quickly circumstances can change through injuries or tactical shifts. From his perspective, staying put could still yield opportunities, while a move north would represent a different kind of challenge altogether. For Rangers, the appeal lies in his profile and experience, qualities that could add immediate depth and competition to the attacking options, and a temporary move has been floated as a potential compromise, one that could suit all parties involved. A short-term loan would allow Rangers to address their immediate needs without committing to a long-term deal, while the parent club retains control of the player's future. In theory, it makes sense, especially given the time constraints. Whether that idea materializes depends on negotiations that are ongoing and delicate, influenced heavily by boardroom decisions as much as footballing ones. What is clear is that Rangers are not standing still. The search for attacking reinforcements is intensifying, and the coming hours are set to be decisive as the club looks to reshape its squad for the battles ahead. As the deadline edges ever closer, the sense of urgency around Ibrox is impossible to ignore. Rangers know that standing still is not an option, especially after a European campaign that has highlighted both structural and squad-related shortcomings. The conversation has now moved beyond frustration and into action, with recruitment discussions becoming more intense by the hour. Supporters can feel it, the staff can feel it, and the players themselves are fully aware that reinforcements are needed to change the tone of the season. This is not about panic buying, but about correcting a clear imbalance that has existed for too long. The striker situation continues to dominate every discussion, and the longer it drags on, the more it exposes the fine margins involved in modern transfers. Rangers are pushing, negotiating, reassessing, and preparing to pivot if required. That flexibility is crucial because the winter window does not forgive hesitation. Deals that might seem close can collapse in minutes, while unexpected opportunities can suddenly emerge. The club's recruitment team is juggling multiple scenarios at once, fully aware that the wrong decision now could have repercussions far beyond the current campaign. Joel Piro remains firmly in the frame, not just as a fallback option, but as a player whose profile genuinely fits what Rangers are missing. His movement, his ability to link play, and his experience at a high competitive level all make him an appealing target. While his minutes this season have been limited, that does not diminish his qualities. In fact, it arguably sharpens Rangers' interest because a player with something to prove can often bring an extra edge. There is a hunger there, a desire to show that he belongs at the highest level, and that kind of mentality resonates strongly with what Rangers demand from their forwards. The dynamics surrounding any potential deal remain unusual, shaped by relationships that blur the traditional boundaries between clubs. This adds an extra layer of intrigue, but also caution. Every step has to be calculated, every move scrutinized, because perception matters almost as much as reality. Rangers cannot afford a misstep that distracts from the football itself. At the same time, these unique circumstances could prove decisive if talks reach a critical point. Influence behind the scenes can sometimes accelerate a deal that would otherwise stall, especially when the clock is ticking. From the player's perspective, the decision is far from straightforward. Staying where he is means continuing to fight for recognition in one of the most demanding leagues in the world. Leaving, even temporarily, means stepping into a new environment where expectations are immediate and relentless. Rangers is not a place for easing in slowly. The atmosphere, the scrutiny, and the pressure to deliver are intense, but for the right personality, that intensity can be a powerful motivator. The chance to play regularly, to feel trusted, and to be central to a team's ambitions is something that many players crave, particularly at this stage of a season. Rangers' need goes beyond just one name, though. This window represents an opportunity to reset certain standards and send a message to the dressing room. Competition for places has always been a cornerstone of successful squads, and adding attacking depth would force everyone to raise their level. It would also give the coaching staff more tactical flexibility, something that has been missing when games become tight or when chasing a result late on. Too often this season, Rangers have looked predictable in the final stages, lacking that alternative option who can change the rhythm of a match. The broader context cannot be ignored either. Domestic ambitions remain very much alive, and Europe, despite its disappointments, has offered valuable lessons. Those lessons need to be acted upon quickly. Rangers have seen how fine the margins are at this level, how a lack of cutting edge can undo solid performances, and how confidence can drain away when goals do not come. Bringing in a forward is not just about adding numbers, it is about restoring belief, both on the pitch and in the stands. Supporters, as ever, are watching closely. They understand the realities of the market, but they also expect ambition. This is a club built on competing, on pushing boundaries, and on refusing to accept mediocrity. The reaction to recent results has been emotional, but beneath that emotion lies a clear demand for progress. Fans want to see a team that reflects their standards, one that plays with conviction and purpose. A new signing, particularly in attack, would not solve everything overnight, but it would signal an intent. Behind closed doors, conversations continue at pace. Numbers are being crunched, options weighed, and scenarios mapped out. The window may be short, but the consequences of these decisions will echo for months. Rangers are aware that they cannot simply wait and hope. Action is required, and it is required now. Whether that action results in the arrival of Piro, Nata, or another name entirely, the objective remains the same: strengthen the squad, address the glaring weaknesses, and give the team the tools it needs to finish the season strongly. As the hours slip away, anticipation builds. Every update, every rumor, every hint of movement is dissected and debated. This is the reality of modern football, where transfers become narratives of their own. For Rangers, this narrative is reaching its most critical chapter. The club stands at a crossroads with the chance to turn frustration into momentum. What happens next will shape not just the remainder of this season, but the tone of the journey ahead as Rangers look to reassert themselves with purpose, clarity, and renewed attacking threat. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Whispers around Ibrox have been growing louder, and the name doing the rounds is Scott McKenna. Nothing has been confirmed, but the mere suggestion that the Scotland international could be pulling on a Rangers jersey has already sparked debate about how quickly he might steady a backline that has been under constant scrutiny. Those close to the club suggest the appeal is obvious. McKenna brings experience, physicality, and a calmness on the ball that feels tailor-made for the demands of domestic pressure and European nights alike. The talk is that Rangers see him as a ready-made solution rather than a long-term project. At his peak, McKenna has shown he can handle aerial battles, organize those around him, and step into midfield when required. That sort of presence is exactly what supporters believe has been missing at times, especially in moments when the tempo rises and concentration is tested. Even as a rumor, the idea of his immediate impact is hard to ignore. There is also a sense that this would be as much about mentality as tactics. McKenna is known as a defender who embraces responsibility, someone who doesn't shy away from leadership even without the armband. In the high-pressure environment of Glasgow, that trait counts for plenty. Some within the game reckon his arrival could allow others in the defense to play with more freedom, knowing there is a dominant voice marshalling from behind. Of course, speculation cuts both ways. Questions remain about how quickly he would settle into the Rangers system and whether expectations might weigh heavy from the off. Yet, that uncertainty is part of the intrigue. If the move were to happen, the belief is that McKenna wouldn't need months to make his mark. He is viewed as the kind of signing who could slot in, raise standards on the training pitch, and subtly change the tone at the back almost immediately. For now, it remains talk, fueled by hints rather than headlines. Still, in a city that thrives on football rumors, the possibility of Scott McKenna reinforcing the Rangers' defense is enough to keep the conversation rolling. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned